All right. Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's LinkedIn Live event, 3 rapid response job search techniques to help you land your next job faster in 2026. My name is Jessica Hernandez, and I'm an 8-time certified career and job search coach, and I'm the founder of Great Resumes Fast. And if you know me or you have followed me for any length of time, you know that I'm extremely passionate about getting job search strategies that work into the hands of job seekers so that you can be more effective in your job search and you can land your next job faster. And so, what I have put together for today is so important. I've spent the past 6 months talking to job seekers, working with job seekers, digging into the research to find out what are the most challenging and frustrating aspects of job searching, and then how can we overcome those. And so when I started digging into the data and the research from many different sources, I found where hiring is actually happening right now in this job market, which methods, techniques, and strategies are working, which are delivering the highest conversion rates from application to interview and application to hire, and then which sources make up the most hires, where the most hires are coming from right now, and how you can leverage those sources. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's LinkedIn Live. So take a minute, add to the comments, let us know where you're from, what type of role you're looking at, what industry you're looking at, so that others that are on this live can help you and you can help each other. And then also, if you find someone that's in your industry that might be a great connection, please send them a connection request. LinkedIn is all about leveraging our network, making connections, building community. And so I want you to use this as an opportunity to do that, as we're also here to learn about what job search strategies and techniques are working in the market today. All right. So I kind of want to start with a little bit of a story. For those of you who follow me, you've heard me share this before, but during my husband's last job search, one of the very first applications that he submitted was to his top target company. And that application took him 2 hours to complete. 2 hours. And I thought to myself, if one application takes a job seeker 2 hours to fill out, for one, applying online, it would be a full-time job. It would take you full-time hours just to submit the applications. And that doesn't even include all of the extra things that go along with the job search that you need to be doing to be effective. So we didn't leave that one application up to chance. We did a lot of other strategies along with that application. And we did what I like to call a success sandwich. And so he applied to the job, but we applied to that job with a customized resume and cover letter. And we found who the hiring manager was and who he would report to in that role. And then we leveraged those things on the before the application side and the after the application side to make sure that that application was successful. And as many of you know, he landed the interview at day 7, the offer at day 12, and he started at day 19. And he's not the only one. I've had 2 other job seekers in the last month who've come to me with similar stories, clients of mine. One of them is Lisa. We worked on her resume and cover letter. She went through my course. She sat there and she customized the entire thing and had it specific to this one role that she wanted. She spent the afternoon customizing it, applied to the role, and by 6:15 a.m. the next morning, before she had even had her first cup of coffee, she had the automated rejection email. And I know you guys know what that feels like, and it's awful. You spend all this time trying to make sure that your resume and your cover letter are targeted to the role, and then you get that automated rejection. And it's like a human didn't even see it. And then what she did was she reached out to a contact that she had inside of the company, and she just simply said, "Would you be so kind as to pass my resume along to the hiring manager?" And her contact said, "Yeah, absolutely." And he did. He passed her resume along to the hiring manager. And by that afternoon, she had an interview. Now, my other client, Sarah, we did her resume and her cover letter for her. and she applied, and she had a connection inside the company that she reached out to, and she said, "Hey, I'm going to apply for this job. Would you mind sending in a recommendation for me?" And a couple of days after she applied, he did. He sent in the recommendation to the hiring team, and he said, "Hey, I just want to let you know that Lisa applied and I really recommend her. I know her personally, and she got, out of 300 applications, she was one of 5 that they brought in to interview, and ultimately she got the job." And so I want to show you through the data that I'm sharing today that those aren't anomalies. Those are what happens when you use these job search techniques and strategies that I'm going to share. These are the kind of results that job seekers are getting. And I share those stories because they are a reflection of those strategies. So today we're going to cover 3 different data points that reveal where hiring is actually happening right now. And I keep saying right now because I think it's really important to point out, I'm not talking about where hiring was happening in 2021, 2022, 2023, when the market was really good and it was a candidate market and hiring managers were competing to get talent and to get you in the door. I'm talking about the kind of market that we saw the last half of 2025, the kind of market that we're in right now. There's not a lot of hiring that's happening. There's not a lot of large companies that are doing a lot of hiring, and a lot of job seekers aren't leaving. They're staying or job hugging, if you know that term. Anyway, so let me go ahead and pull up some information that I want you to look at. The first data point we're going to look at is where hiring is actually happening, meaning the source that the most hires or the majority of hires are coming from. And this graphic comes from Ashby HQ. And if you've never heard of them, they are an all-in-one recruiting platform for companies of all sizes. And they do reports specifically for companies so that they can see where their hires are coming from, where across the board in many different industries, many different types of companies, where the most successful hires are coming from, so that recruiters can then invest their time into the methods that are producing the most hires and the highest quality hires. And that's important because this isn't necessarily data that was intended for job seekers. This was data that was intended for an audience of recruiters so that they could tell where hires are being made. Okay, so let's look at it. The orange line at the top that says applied, 43% of hires in 2024 and in 2025 are from inbound applications. That means you went to, as a job seeker, you went to the company website, you applied internally on the company website, not from a third-party website, not from a job board, not from LinkedIn or Indeed or anywhere else. You went to the actual company website and you applied for the job on their company website. It accounted for 43% of hires in this last quarter. You can see it kind of peaked around quarter 3 in 2023, but it's still holding steady. And the 2025 stats are the same leading into 2026. So inbound applications made up the majority of the hires. Then if you look down, you can see the green 6% is major job boards like LinkedIn and Indeed. So 6% of the hires these companies made came from that. 3% represents agency, which is like recruiters, staffing companies. So the data is clear. If you want a better chance of getting hired, so a higher application to interview, an application to hire ratio or conversion rate, you need to be applying on the actual company website. All right, data point number 2 I want to talk about, and I know that you guys are probably going to groan when you hear this, but hear me out. All right. This comes from Hunter, which is it's like an AI resume builder tool, but they do a ton of great research, and they're analyzing hundreds of thousands of applications, resumes, job seeker activities. So I want to point out this data because it's really looking at a lot of different data points. It's not based on just 1,000 job seekers or 1,000 resumes. This information is spanning tens and hundreds of thousands. Okay, so real quick, I want to address this. Michelle asked, 52% of hires, but it doesn't say where the other 48% come from. I do know, and I am going to get there in just a minute. So be patient with me because I do want to share that. All right. So let's go back to this. Resume tailoring makes a huge impact on your conversion rate. So you have 105% higher success rate getting interviews if you are using a resume that you customize to the job. And it's not just Hunter's research. There's a lot of different research that comes out of different places that say this exact same thing. Another one is from DeVry University. They have a career study that shows that the most successful job seekers are those that tailored their resume and cover letter. And by most successful, I just want to clarify what I mean by most successful job seekers. That's defined by job seekers who were interviewed and hired in less than 6 months and got interviews at more than 50% of the places that they applied to. So those are the success metrics I'm going by. When I say, here's what the most successful job seekers do right, this is what they're doing right to get hired in less than 6 months and to get interviews at around 50% of the places that they're applying to, which is huge. All right, so I know that when you look at this, you're like, oh my God, Jessica, I don't have time to customize my resume for every single job. And you're right. You don't. And that's kind of actually the point, because if you're applying to 50, 80, or 100 jobs a week or even a month, you can't customize your resume because it's impossible. You don't have time to do that. And that's why when you narrow your focus to a target list of companies of 10, 25, max 40 companies total, you actually have the time to be more strategic in your approach and more targeted in your approach. And it's actually why doing less will get you more results. And I know that seems counterintuitive, but when you're applying to fewer jobs with a targeted resume, your conversion rates more than double over sending out generic resumes to a greater quantity of roles. So while you hear this all the time, like quality over quantity, but it's not just a nice idea or a fancy saying, it's a mathematically superior strategy. And I could spend literally like all day going over all of the data points that support this. And someone just asked, and what about the example? Yeah, this is a great question. Who spent hours tailoring hers? I'm going to talk about that too, because we don't take any one single strategy in a vacuum. We are literally going to stack job search techniques to make you even more successful. Because the thing is, what I see so many job seekers do is they rely on one method, one technique. They rely on applying online only. They rely on using LinkedIn only in their job search. And then what happens is they don't get results and they get frustrated, where what we want to do instead is stack multiple high ROI strategies, those high leverage strategies together, so that one application that we send is successful. And so that's what I'm hoping to get to. So hang in there with me. Please don't get frustrated at some of these data points. All right, one more thing I want to show you, and this is awesome. Okay, so this is from 2024 from Aaron Employee Referral Group, but actually they did another round of research, and most of this still applies to all the way up to the end of 2025, beginning of 2026. I just personally like this graphic because it speaks to what I want to share with you as a job seeker, so you can see the importance of employee referrals. There are so many different surveys and studies and different research out there that shows that you are so much more likely to get hired if you have an employer referral. coming from multiple different sources, but I just think this one really hits home. You are 5 times more likely to be hired if you have a referral. And something else that I think is interesting too, there was a recruiter who did research on this a few years ago that said the majority of people, even if they have a referral, do not mention that they have a referral. Yet you are 5 times more likely to be hired if you have it, but that only works if you mention that you have it, if you mention that you were referred. And so we're going to talk about that in a minute. But something else, to keep in mind, I just want to put this in perspective. If you and 4 other equally qualified candidates apply to the same job or are interviewing for the same job, and one of you has a referral, that one that has the referral is 5 times more likely to get the offer over the rest of you. And so my client, Sarah, her story that I was sharing with you illustrates that point, that if you have the referral and you're in that group of 5 that's getting interviewed, you're 5 times more likely to get hired. 1 out of 8 referred candidates gets hired. Referrals stay 35% longer than other hires. 45% of hires from employee referrals will stay 4+ years, as opposed to a hire from a job board, which only stays 2+ years. And 82% of employers rated employer referrals as generating the best ROI in recruiting. Well, Jessica, why do we care about those employee stats on referrals? We care because companies care, because companies are looking at that and saying, this is why we have an employee referral program. This is why 84% of companies have employee referral programs, because they know that referrals are going to stay longer. They're going to cost less. They're going to produce more. There's studies out there that show that referred clients are better culture fits. They make more money for the company. They save the company more money. Where is it? Oh, employee referrals hires can save over $7,500 per hire to the company. So there's just all of these amazing stats out there to support why companies want to hire referrals, why they have employee referral programs, and why employee referrals are rated as the best hires. And you'll notice, like at the bottom of the chart, even small businesses, like all companies hire from referrals. So even small businesses with less than 1,000 companies hire from referrals. And actually, small to medium-sized businesses rely on referrals. Oh, that's a tongue twister. Rely on referrals even more than larger companies do. And that's an important point, because what a lot of job seekers don't realize is that while Fortune 500 hiring is going down and only made up like 1.6% of hires in the last quarter, small business hiring for small to mid-sized companies is actually increasing and was up 9% in the last quarter of 2025. And small businesses, small to mid-size, make up 99% of the companies in the United States. And so one thing that always baffles me is when, we as job seekers, we're putting together our target company list and we're thinking about, well, what companies do I want to apply to? And who do I want to try to get in with? And we always think about these big name Fortune 500 companies because they're the ones that we see every day, or that we hear about in the news, or that we see commercials for. But we don't think about the small and mid-sized companies that are around, that are actually doing the majority of the hiring, and that have the majority of the openings, are more likely to hire us because we live in the community, or because we were referred in, or because we applied direct, because they don't necessarily have the budget to go pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in advertising, or pay thousands of dollars to post jobs on job boards, or to have a seat on LinkedIn Recruiter. So those are things that, we need to be thinking about and considering. All right, so let's talk about a couple of different techniques based on this data, techniques that you can use in your job search to get more responses faster. Because what I want to do is help you increase your conversion rate of applications to interviews and applications to offers. And so anytime we can direct our time and our energy into high ROI, high leverage activities that are going to multiply your efforts for you to get more interviews and more offers faster, that's what we want to invest our time into. So just based on the data that I shared with you, and I'm going to share in a little bit, I have a course where I have a job search course that I'm launching that dives into all of this research in so much more detail and even more additional research that I don't have the time to go into today, and that bases job search techniques off of that information, because I believe it's not, I could really get on my soapbox about this, but there's a lot of influencers and good, well-intentioned advice out there on social media about what you can and or should be doing in your job search based on subjective opinions or experience. But I believe where we are going to have the best results in our job search is when we're basing our strategies and our techniques off of the data and the research and what we know is working, what the numbers prove is working. And so that if you don't walk away with anything else from today, I hope that you'll see that, you'll look at the data and you'll say, okay, here's what I need to be doing in my job search. All right. So the first technique is I want you to apply on company websites. So if you see a job on LinkedIn and you're like, oh man, this is the perfect job for me, look up that company, go to their website and apply direct on the company website. And I'm not saying there's not a place for LinkedIn. I have an entire course that is designed to teach you how to leverage LinkedIn in your job search. The issue is that a lot of job seekers are using LinkedIn as a job board instead of a networking platform. It was originally built and designed to help you network, not necessarily to function as a job board like Indeed. All right. So technique number one, instead of or in addition to applying on job boards like LinkedIn and Indeed, I want you to start applying direct on the company career page. So when you see that job you're interested in on LinkedIn or Indeed or whatever other job board you're using, I want you to head over to the company website and I want you to apply direct there. There's also some pretty significant research from Hunter, which I showed you their graph earlier. They produce a quarterly job search trends report. And in a couple of their reports this past year, one of the things I find absolutely fascinating is that they report on which job boards had the highest conversion rate of application to interview. And LinkedIn and Indeed are hovering around 3% conversion rate or less. Google Jobs was 3 times higher at 9% plus conversion rate of application to interviews. So it's partly because if you're going on Google and you're saying like, okay, find me project manager jobs, it's pulling direct from company websites near you. So when you click on a job, it is then going to route you in most cases to that company website. It does pull some jobs from job boards, but in most cases, it's going to direct you to that company website where then you can apply direct. This strategy goes hand in hand with this research that shows that 43% of hires were coming from inbound applications, whereas only 6% were coming from job boards. Now, you guys were asking me earlier, well, where is the other percent coming from? Where's the rest of the other 48% coming from? It's coming from referrals. 48% of hires are coming from employee referrals. So those are your two biggest, most effective strategies in your job search. All right. Step number 2, we want to talk about customizing your resume for each application. All right. So I know this is really hard. It does not have to be like a huge endeavor. You don't have to rewrite your resume for every application. And there is no rule out there that says you can only have one resume. So for instance, let's say I wanted to do something other than what I do. there's a lot of different areas I could go into. Like I've been the founder of Great Resumes Fast for the last 17 years. So I've been an executive resume writer and a career coach. I'm also a LinkedIn job search coach. I have a lot of courses and I do different things, but a lot of the behind the scenes is not just writing, it's related to marketing. I'm also an educator. So let's say, for imagination's sake, hypothetically, I didn't want to do this anymore. I wanted to go get a job and work for someone else. Well, I could go be a teacher. I could work in career services at a college. I could work in marketing, and I could work on content or be a writer, or, there's all of these different things that I could do, but I'm not going to try to cram all of that into one single resume. No, I'm going to have a career services resume. I'm going to have a marketer resume. I'm going to have an educator resume. And then everything's going to be tailored from there. And so have that specific resume. But then when you go to tailor it, here are the important pieces that you need to tailor. First, you need to match the language from the job description. And I'm not just talking about mirroring back word for word whatever the job description says, because recruiters can tell. They can tell. They can tell if you used AI to write your resume because they've read so many that have been written. Just like how if you're reading a post on LinkedIn and you're like, oh man, that sounds like AI. That doesn't sound like how a human would really say it. Recruiters can tell when they read a resume that AI wrote that. And so I'm talking about matching hard skills, the professional, academic, and technical skills that you possess that are in alignment with the requirements of that role. You want to match those two things. The next thing is you want to prioritize resume bullets on your resume that are the most relevant. They get top priority. So let's say, going back to the project manager example, you're applying for a project management job. You want each bullet underneath each role, you want the ones related to project management to be first. And then you can put the other accomplishment bullets that maybe aren't as relevant or as important to that project manager role. They can come down lower, but you want those to be the most important. You want to pick your top 3 most significant achievements related to project management and put those in the top third of your resume. And then you want to have your target job title and a customized career summary at the top of your resume. And I will die on the hill of having your target job title at the top of your resume, because it clearly communicates to the hiring manager the role that you're applying to and that you're qualified for. If you need help customizing your resume, and this is just like a resource to help you guys, I have a free executive resume template download. A lot of you probably already have it. If you're on my email list, chances are you've already downloaded it. If you haven't and you need help customizing your resume, you can go to my website, greatrezumesfast.com/resources. I have like 6 or 7 different free job search resources on the website. One of them is the executive resume template. But the reason why I want you to download that if you need help customizing is because it has content prompts through the entire template that tell you what information to put in each section of your resume so that you're able to customize your resume to that specific role. So keep that in your back pocket if you need it. If you don't and you're all set on your resume, great. But those are definitely 3 areas that I would be customizing on my resume for each job that I apply to. I'd customize the job title at the top. I'd make the career summary very specific. I am not a fan of broad, generic summaries. I want a very specific snapshot that's tailored to that job. Then your 3 accomplishments at the top need to be the ones most relevant to that role. And then you just want to reorder your bullet points within the resume so that those that are related, the most related to the role, get top billing and they come first. And then just cut what's not relevant. So if there's anything in your resume that is not relevant to the role, remove that. And I know that's really hard. It's one a lot of people struggle with, because you wonder, like, what if I cut out something that's important to the hiring manager? Or, hey, I'm really proud of all of this experience that I have. And I get that, you should be. However, if it's not relevant to the role, then it needs to be replaced with something that is relevant to the role. Because the thing is, hiring managers are so inundated that they don't have time to connect the dots for you between your experience and the role. Your job as the job seeker, your resume's job is to connect those dots for the hiring manager so they can see how your experience and your accomplishments are a fit for the role. So your job is to do that. And then the last one is leveraging employee referrals. Because remember, we said you're 5 times more likely to get hired if you have the employee referral. And we know that another majority of hires are actually coming from employee referrals. They're like the most effective way to get hired. Number one job search strategy. If you Google what is the number one most effective job search strategy, employee referrals. All right, but here's where people get stuck. They think, I don't know anybody at my target companies, or I'm not good at networking, or I don't want to bother people. And I get that. I am an introvert and my social circle is really small. But one thing that I have found when people think about employer referrals and networking, they just immediately start disqualifying themselves. For one, they hate the word networking. I hate the word networking. When I hear networking, I think of awkward, small talk with strangers in rooms full of strangers that I don't know. I know nothing about them. I don't know what to say, any of that. And I can just feel my anxiety like ratcheting up because that is not my idea of a good time at all. And so what I really want you to reframe and change how you think about, don't use the word networking if that's what it brings up for you. I want you to connect with the people that are closest to you, the people in your social circle, the people that you do life with on a regular basis every day. I know for me, the people that I feel closest to, those are the ones that I'm comfortable with talking to. They're the ones that are the easiest for me to talk to. And I can go to them and say, hey, I'm thinking about making a career change to this industry. Do you know anyone that works inside of that industry? Or do you know any companies that hire for that I could add to my target company list? I share specific strategies, techniques, and scripts for how to walk this out in my job search course, Rapid Response Job Search Techniques. That's the new course that I just launched. If you need more practical help with leveraging referrals, and I'll run that down here on the bottom. Now, when I started, I shared 3 stories, my husband's and then 2 of my clients, Sarah and Lisa, that showed what's possible when you stop playing the numbers game of, okay, I'm going to apply to 100 different jobs and instead start getting more strategic. I will tell you, you cannot really rely on, or I wouldn't put all my eggs into one basket and rely on that one method or that one strategy to land my next job. I would never, ever do that. I would never advise you to do that. When my husband was job searching, we did not rely on one strategy alone. No, we sandwiched everything that we did with trying to leverage employee referrals, trying to make connections with people in our network, applying with a customized resume and cover letter, and then following that up by trying to connect with a hiring manager in the company. In my course, I talk about how to find the hiring manager. I give you hacks for how to find the hiring manager using LinkedIn when they're not listed on the job posting. I talk about how to even get their email address so that you can message them after you apply and say, hey, I just applied to this role. I wanted to follow up and let you know why I'm excited about it, how there's a values alignment between me and the company. And doing this increases exponentially that application to hire conversion rate. And that's what I want to help you do. I want to help you use strategies that are going to be way more successful when you're job searching so that you're not ending up in this horrible place that I see so many job seekers go to. This is one of the reasons why I do things like this. I share so much information freely on LinkedIn, and I share free resources on my website, and I do LinkedIn Lives, and I create courses, because one of the things I hate is seeing job seekers go from confident and feeling like they're valued in the workplace and that they have something to contribute to feeling desperate, demoralized, and defeated. I hate that. And if you get into this loop of applying online only via LinkedIn or Indeed or major job boards, and you're not doing anything else and incorporating any other strategies into your job search, that's where that leads. Because inevitably, all of those rejections, because that method or that technique has such a low success rate and such a high volume of competition, that eventually those rejections, they start to whittle away at your resilience and your perseverance and your confidence. And so what I want to help you do is avoid that and use strategies that are going to have a higher return on your investment of time and energy. All right, so what we've looked at so far are that 45% of hires are coming from inbound applications on websites, and between 3 and 6% are coming from recruiters and job boards. We know that 48% of hires come from employee referrals, and that you're 5 times more likely to be hired if you have an employee referral. So we know that those two strategies are up there. We also know that you're twice as likely to get the interview if you use a customized resume and cover letter. 105% higher success rate getting the interview when you apply with a customized resume and cover letter. All right, we know that you're going to apply inbound on the company site. You're going to use Google Jobs because it has a 3 times higher application to interview conversion rate. And you're going to leverage employee referrals by tapping into the people closest to you, asking for introductions, not jobs, reaching out to contacts before and after you apply, because this is how you do less in your job search. By less, I mean like less mass applying to lots of different jobs and spending hours upon hours in online applications. You know, like I said, the 2 hours my husband spent in his application, which is crazy ridiculous. And we would not have invested that had it not been for his target company. All right. So now I know you're probably thinking like, whew, okay, Jessica, this makes sense, but how do I actually do all of this? So how do I find which companies are hiring? How do I work towards getting a referral when I don't know anyone or I don't know what to say? When I hate networking, when I'm introverted or socially awkward? Hello, that's me. Which job boards have the highest conversion rate? Because there is a place for job boards in your job search. I'm not saying don't use them. I'm just saying let's use them in moderation and balance. And then how do I find niche job boards in my industry? Because there's a whole aspect of niche job boards, which I didn't even get to today. And I'm already over our time for the live stream and I haven't got to Q&As yet. And I want to do that because that's really important. I've got you covered today. Actually, I just launched my brand new course. It's called Rapid Response Job Search Techniques. And for the next 48 hours, everyone who attended this live session can get it for 30% off with the early bird discount. The code and the URL are on the screen. I'll also include them in the comments section, but you can go to that URL, use the code HIRED2026. You'll get 30% off the course. I priced this course like as absolutely affordably as I could because I wanted to get it into as many job seekers' hands as I can because I truly believe in these data-backed strategies and methods, and I know they're going to help you land in your job search. Inside the course, I talk about how to work towards an employee referral, even if you don't know anybody. I walk you through exactly how to identify, approach, nurture connections that lead to referrals, ideally within your personal social circle first, and then your professional circle. We talk about how to find which companies are hiring so you're not wasting your time applying to roles that are already filled or going into companies that are in hiring freezes, how to apply via inbound applications the right way with the outreach strategy that gets your resume actually seen by hiring managers for when ATS automatically rejects your resume. Because I will tell you this, I have a client, one of my clients, he is the VP of technology for an ATS company. His job is literally to build ATS, and he has a whole team of recruiters that work for him. ATS, and he will tell you, ATS is not perfect. You can be perfectly qualified for the job, have a perfectly customized resume and cover letter, and it could still send you an automated rejection email. The screening questions, for whatever reason, could boot you out. It is not a perfect system. And if you rely solely on the applicant tracking system, getting your resume in front of a hiring manager's eyes, you are leaving things up to chance, and that chance is not in your favor. Okay, so that's why we want to sandwich our application with other methods and techniques. We don't just apply and move on. No, if it's one of our main target companies, and that's what we're working through, we want to be very strategic in our outreach. We're also talking about which job boards have the highest conversion rates. I mentioned Google Jobs today. There are others that will get you 14 times more likely to be hired than major job boards, plus other sources that will increase your likelihood of getting hired. The course, I designed it specifically to help job seekers get unstuck, to stop spinning their wheels and to get hired faster so they don't end up in that cycle of defeat, desperation, and demoralization. So head to greatresumesfast.com/job-search-techniques-course. The link is scrolling through the screen. I'll also drop it in the comments. You can use the early bird discount to get 30% off for the next 48 hours. All right, last request before we go to Q&A. Would you help out other job seekers, please, by sharing and reposting this event that I did on LinkedIn, sharing it to your feed, because there are so many other job seekers that need this information. And I want to get it into as many job seekers' hands as possible so that they know there are more effective ways to job search and they don't end up feeling all of those overwhelming feelings that happen, because I really just hate seeing people burned out and defeated and desperate. If I can help avoid that, I want to do everything I can to do that. So if you'll share this and maybe even include a tip or two that you found insightful or what you learned or took away from it, that would be so awesome. All right, so let's go ahead to the core. Now that I'm done with the core content, I want to open it up to you, answer some of your questions, whether it's about referrals, customizing your resume, finding job boards, how to approach someone you don't know well, whatever it is. I'll stick around for the next few minutes, answer your questions. Let me see if I can get some of these on the screen. There are so many comments, you guys. Thank you so much for engaging and adding comments and showing up today. I really appreciate that. And if there's any that I can't really get to live, because I know I'm not going to be able to answer all of these, then I'll do my best to answer them afterwards in the comment section on the event page. As also, if you come back to this event page, you can watch the replay, because I know I covered a ton of information and I always talk really fast because I always want to get through so much stuff when I'm doing the LinkedIn Live. So, you can come back to the event page and watch the replay. Okay. Oh, thank you, Linda. And thank you, everybody, for the positive comments. I'm so grateful. All right. Share the link to the program. Is it recorded? Hi, Michelle. Yes, absolutely. You can come back to this event page. You can copy the link from the event page and post it, or you can click the share button. That will share it directly to your LinkedIn page. Nana said, job search now is like defense in depth, a concept in cybersecurity. Yes. All right. Do you cover how to update your LinkedIn so that recruiters can find you? Hi, Tara. I talk all about that in my LinkedIn Unlocked course, which if you decide to sign up for my rapid response job search program, you can add on the LinkedIn course at a discounted rate. I don't actually fully open that course. Like, you'll have access to it if you sign up when you sign up to my rapid response job search course, but I don't open that course to the public until March or April. I only do it twice a year. It's a huge course, and I usually have hundreds of job seekers who come through it each time I open it. So it gets a little unwieldy to leave it open all the time. But you can sign up for that course if and when you sign up for my job search course. You can bundle them both together. And I go through all of that, how to optimize your LinkedIn profile so that recruiters can find you, how to use LinkedIn to find the hiring manager, and what to say when you reach out to them to actually get a response. So. All right, let's see. Somebody said that the website is not working. So let me go check really quick and make sure that it is working. It might be, I'm assuming, a little slow because there might be so many people on it, but I'll post the link to the course in the comments section. All right, so that's there. And then I've been out of the workforce for a couple of years due to taking care of a sick parent. Any suggestions? Yes, definitely lean heavy on your network, because when you have any kind of what they call a resume red flag or any kind of job search challenge, like a gap in employment or a layoff, or you're trying to pivot industries and roles, it takes even longer to land your next role. And it's usually not through a traditional job search method like applying online. It's usually through leveraging your network. So reaching out to the people closest to you and asking them, hey, do you know anyone? Here's a list of my target companies. Do you know anyone inside any of these companies that you could introduce me to? Or I'm looking for or currently exploring roles in this. Do you know of anywhere that may be hiring for that? So definitely leaning on your network is going to be your number one strategy. Amy said, don't take it personally. You don't want to work for any company that ghosts you. It says more about them than it does you. Yes, definitely, definitely does not. Oh, thank you, Patricia. Is it better to avoid applying to large organizations that use ATS if I'm going back to the workplace after taking a break? Okay, so it depends on what your goals are for your job search. So, are you trying to get into a high tech company like a Facebook, an Amazon, an Apple, a Netflix, or a Google? Those are all Fortune 500 companies, and your strategy has to be completely different. You will get hired faster if you target a small to medium sized or mid sized business, because right now, those businesses are struggling to find talent. They're only getting 10 to 20 applicants, maybe per job opening. The competition is exceptionally low, and they're just having a hard time filling roles. So I would say, if possible, and it fits the type of role that you're targeting, definitely go for a small to mid-sized company. Thank you, Terrell. Thank you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you feel validated in that. Why do employers take you through 2 weeks of rigorous interviewing just to ghost you? Poor communication on their part. Absolutely poor communication. When I hear stuff like that, I think someone does not like to deliver bad news. Like, it's got to be someone on the hiring end that doesn't want to be the person that says, hey, I'm sorry, we decided to go in a different direction, which, you probably dodged a bullet, because if that's how bad their communication is in the hiring stage, who knows what it's like inside the company. And I would much rather spend my time and effort directing it towards companies that are going to value me and value my time and my experience. You're so welcome. This is one of the reasons why I do events like this, because I do know that there are people that cannot afford to sign up for classes or courses or personal services or things like that. And so I really try to be very generous with the information that I share in LinkedIn Lives, the information that I share on LinkedIn, the information I share on my blog, on the resources page, greatresumesfast.com/resources. There's tons of free information on there, guides, resume templates. I have a LinkedIn optimization masterclass in there that you can use to help you optimize your LinkedIn for recruiter searches. So there's lots and lots and lots of information. All right, let's see. Ursula said, I send out kind and thoughtful follow-up LinkedIn emails to recruiters and hiring managers after I apply for jobs on company sites, and I never hear back. Any advice? Yes, try their email. So I don't know about anyone else, but my LinkedIn inbox gets unwieldy and a little hard to manage and keep up with all of the messages that I send. And it takes me a long time to get back to everyone. Email for me is a little quicker and easier to manage and organize. The other part of that is not everyone is on LinkedIn. And so if I find someone on LinkedIn that I want to email, I'm going to go look up their email address and I'm just going to email them directly because they are much more likely to see my email than they are to see my LinkedIn message. Not everyone is active on LinkedIn every day. Not everyone's active at all on LinkedIn. I mean, some people take months off of the platform or years. They only use it when they're job searching, even if they are a hiring manager or recruiter. You can always tell whether someone's active by going to their activity on their profile and looking to see when they've commented or posted recently. If they're the type of person like me that's on LinkedIn every day, that's posting every day, then sure, you can message them and try to get a response. But you're probably going to do much better getting a response if you go via email. Yes, do not ask someone straight up for a job, build relationship and show value. Now, if you already know someone, like one of my best friends is a hairstylist. She literally knows everyone. Like she's a super extrovert and a super connector. So her and I are very close. So if let's say I wanted to be a teacher and I went to her and I said, "Hey, I think I'm going to change careers and I want to be a teacher." She might say, "Oh, you know who you should meet? You should meet so and so. Let me introduce you." Or I might say, "Hey, Evelyn, I think I'm going to change career paths. I think I want to be a teacher. Do you know if any of the schools nearby are hiring? Or do you know someone that I could talk to?" I would ask her that because I'm so close to her. Like we have a good relationship and I can ask her that. I would not cold outreach a stranger and say that. That is not where I would start. The reason why networking feels icky and awkward is because people think about asking for a job from a stranger or they're thinking about cold outreach. That's not the kind of networking I'm talking about. We can get to that point in networking, and there are strategies that you can use to leverage that. But what I'm talking about, what's much more effective, is starting with the people closest to you first and moving on from there. All right, let's see. Oh, Jane, great question. So you've seen the strategy of accessing the hidden job market has diminished. You'd love to hear my perspective on why. I don't think it's that the strategy has diminished. I just think that the term tapping into the hidden job market is not trending anymore. Like it's not a trendy term. Like you remember how personal branding, I don't know, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago was like the it term in the industry. And everyone was all about personal branding for a while. It's still important, but it doesn't get the newsworthiness that it used to. And I think it's the same thing with the hidden job market because basically all the strategies that I teach, that I taught today in this course, that I teach in my rapid response job search techniques course, and that I teach in my LinkedIn Unlock course, all of those strategies are tapping into the hidden job market. I just don't call it that. It's the same thing with networking. I don't like to use that term because people equate it to things that are hard to do or they disqualify themselves. Whereas having conversations with people that you're already close to is technically networking because you're building relationships and you're connecting with people. But it's people that you're already close to, that you're comfortable talking to. So it's not hard to do in the same way that we think of cold outreach to strangers as networking is hard to do. So, all right, hope that helps. All right. How many probabilities is when a recruiter finds? Okay. I'm not sure I understand this question, but I'm going to bring it up anyway and see if I can work through it. Okay. How many probabilities of being rejected when a recruiter finds many rejections over the past 1 year at a company's workday, even after tailoring the resume according to the relevant jobs? And I think what you're trying to say is you've applied via Workday ATS to the same company many different ways and gotten rejected. And you're asking, what's the probability of getting through if the recruiter sees all of those rejections? I would say, let's start trying to make connections with employees in the company who can take your resume to the hiring manager and say, hey, I'm recommending so and so. It's obvious that this company is really important to you. Maybe it's one of your top companies that you're interested in. I would start working on building relationships with people in the company so that they can pass your resume along. And you can just skip the line to get in the front door altogether and go around through the back door. All right, Nicholas said, my experience is that the biggest advocates on my team helping me find a role in their company or land a role in another company, if one isn't available in there, are my closest contacts, friends, and former coworkers. They chipped in on me and forwarded my resume to their contacts. The same wasn't true for the random LinkedIn guy, the recruiter, the job board. You are absolutely right. And that's what I'm trying to help people see, is that it's usually the people closest to you and the people that they know. And so, one of the things I tell people who are extremely introverted or have social anxiety or social awkwardness, because hello, that's me, I've been there, is that, you really have to lean on the people closest to you, find the connectors, find the extroverts. I don't know about you guys, but I have a couple extroverted friends who've kind of adopted me over the years. They like just latched onto me and we became really close friends, but they are connectors. Like they know everyone. And so look for the connectors, the natural connectors inside of your social circle, the people who know you well that are always like, oh, you know who you should talk to? You should talk to so and so. Or have you ever met so and so? Let me introduce you to so and so. Those are your natural connectors. Those are the people that you want to reach out to and lean on. I have tried reaching out to hiring managers after applying. I heard back from one of them and still didn't get an interview. Hey, David. So, this strategy is to be used in conjunction with the other strategies, not as a standalone. And messaging hiring managers, especially cold outreach to hiring managers, has only a 20 to 40% success rate or response rate. Now, that is still astronomically higher than the response rate of job boards and applying online. So it's still successful. But we have to keep in mind, like, you might send 10 messages and only get a response from two or only get two interviews. But if you apply to 100 jobs, you might get one interview. And so it's worth the time and the effort. And I would say that it might be the messaging. We might need to tweak the messaging. What are we saying in the messages? Are we showing an alignment of values? Are we expressing why we're excited about the role? Are we connecting the dots for the hiring manager? Because it's not just that we message them, it's what we said in our message. Were we strategic? Did we make it about them? Did we show what's in it for them in that message? So that's one of the reasons why I include message templates inside of the course that you can customize and use as you apply to different roles, because it's so hard to recreate those messages over and over and over again from scratch. And if you have a template that you can use and then all you're doing is tweaking one or two things inside of the template as you apply, it becomes easier, quicker, and less stressful. Noelle says, I have your LinkedIn and your cover letter course. Is this a repeat of those? No, absolutely not. Brand new information, not included in either one of those courses. And all the content in those courses is based exclusively on data from late 2025 and early 2026. So really excited about that. All right. Okay. Brits like me hate the thought of networking, but I've lived in the US long enough to get over that. Oh, thank you, Leslie, for sharing that. I appreciate that. I am not a Brit, but I am very introverted. And my husband took me to a award thing. It was like an award banquet for his work one time. It was this past year. He took me to this award banquet. And you know how they do like the appetizers before the show? And I was standing in this room full of strangers, and I thought, oh my God, I hate this. Like, this is my worst nightmare come true. I'm literally standing in a room full of people I don't know, and I have no idea what to say. And then the next night, I was in the bleachers at my son's school soccer game, surrounded by my soccer mom friends. And I was so in my element. And I thought, if I was job searching, this is where I would job search. I would talk to the people around me that I am comfortable with, where I am in my element. I would not be trying to talk to all of those strangers in that banquet hall. And it's not that you can't. there are extroverts who would rock that room. My husband is one of them. He is a super connector. He's a super extrovert. He can talk to someone for 30 seconds and get their entire life story and connect them with 5 other people. He is excellent at that, but that is not me. That's not who I am, and that's not what I'm comfortable with. So what I want to do is give people strategies that work within their comfort level and within their strengths. Because if you're comfortable with them and if they come easier to you, then you're more likely to do them and be more successful. It doesn't help a job seeker if I give them strategies that they are going to feel miserable employing and then therefore are not going to use them because they feel miserable using them, or they feel stressed out, or full of anxiety. And so my goal is to give you tools and strategies that you can use that make you comfortable. Anyway, that's like a whole other thing. Oh, okay. Last question. I'm going to answer this one because it's really important. So, are most hiring managers HR staff, or do they work directly on the team hiring for the role? So, I would call someone who does not work on the team a decision maker. So, someone that doesn't work on the hiring staff, I would say. So, you have HR and hiring managers, which are typically your HR, talent acquisition, recruiters type. Then you have decision makers. And decision makers are basically the people that you would report to if you were in that role. And so those are 2 different types of people, and you can reach out to both. And a lot of times you'll be more effective if you reach out to the decision maker because they're less inundated with applicants and candidates. And I show you a hack inside my course for how to find the decision maker and reach out to them inside the rapid response job search techniques course. All right. So that is a lot of information. I went way over the 30 minutes. So we had an hour together. I have really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for the time today. I hope you learned something new. Please, please, please share this with other job seekers on LinkedIn so that they can get these techniques and strategies to use in their job search. Check out my course if you haven't already. If it's not for you, please share it with your network, with other job seekers, because I really want to see more people leveraging high ROI strategies that are going to get them hired faster so that they're not ending up in this horrible cycle of defeat and overwhelm and desperation. So thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.